Hi everybody, this is Caroline Sotheby and welcome to Up, Down, and Around Town. Well, before I get to the guests, I thought I'd put this little slip in with last Friday pre-football game as the band, the court, and everybody went down Oak Street for their own little parade. You can see people brought their chairs, they sat alongside the sidewalk near the road and waved to, in this case, the court. They also had the kids from the school with their posters and some support groups. So that was a pretty good end to the Spirit Week because, hey, Roosevelt won their football game. So that just gives you an idea of how they were working through the week, and that was right before the game. Anyway, we're going to talk about another game. And if you've heard about somebody that says Wyandotte Stars and you're trying to figure out what they are or who they are, here's three representatives. And welcome to the show, okay? Season has finally ended, but what can you tell us about it?
It was a very fun season. We traveled all over the state of Michigan, down into Ohio, so a lot of travel, but it was very fun, and our team seems to be, in the right path too. We keep getting better and better, so it's a lot of, our guys here, a lot of fun times, and we are really looking forward to getting together for next season. So,
okay. How many guys are on the team anyway?
Rostered, we have 15 on the roster. We can have as many as we want. There's no limit or anything, but there's 15 committed guys that can commit to our season.
Okay, and we talked before we came on, you're in the outfield all around.
Yep, I kind of get rotated, between left, right, or center field, but yeah, they're all fun to me, but mainly I play right field.
Okay. Did you ever play baseball in high school?
I did not, actually. I played,
really?
No, I played football and I ran track. So I didn't even make the baseball team.
So how did they groove you into it? Well, it was a whole new type of baseball anyway. We'll have to talk about that. But you got to go to him. He kiddingly said he's a professor of sports, but I mean, Jim.
Yeah, I'm a gym teacher by trade, but yeah, I'm the first baseman for Wyandotte, and they kind of try to hide me, but really I'm out there because I can catch the ball and try to cover first base the best that I can, and so. Okay.
Who wants to talk about the new rules that you guys had to learn in order to play this game?
Jason?
Well, the new rules that are going to come into Major League Baseball won't affect us at all. What we do is we try to play by the rules of how baseball started out in the early 1860s. Okay. And so our team is closer to playing by 1867. And what happens is, one of the cool things I think is, having played this game for 13 years now, is you can see why rules change over time. And so what happened back in the 1860s, after the season, a representative like Zach would go to New York City, and then all the teams would come in there and they would talk about what things happened during the season and what things do we need to change. And over gradual, you can see each year things started to change subtly. If you play 1862, you can actually catch the ball on a bound in the outfield. But by 1867, teams were getting so good that now they had it so you had to catch the ball in the air. And so you can see the progression of, like today in the modern game, they have what's called an infield fly rule. If there's players on first and second, the ball's popped up in the infield. Even if the fielder drops the ball, you do not have to run. In our game, you have to run if the ball is not caught. The infield fly rule didn't come about, but you can see why it did. And now, fortunately, for what we do, most players are not trying to drop the ball and trying to get you out. But it does happen.
Yeah,
You've seen
yeah,
it, and we've seen.
yeah.
We've all been a part of
Yeah.
it. We've seen where players will purposely not catch a ball because it's in the rules that you don't have to catch it, and then that just makes it look like a circus because then people are running everywhere. But it's really cool though to really see how the game progressed over time.
And if we didn't know that, we wouldn't even know you're in 1867 rules, really.
Right.
Yeah. And of course, what's different about the glove?
No glove at all, which is it's how everything started. And then as time progressed, as Jason said, 1867, 1868, you start seeing people wear it was buckskin over their palms to kind of ease the throws a little bit, but it did not develop into the glove that we know today until the late 1800s, early 1900s with the webbing and things like that. So it's definitely progressed, but our era, no gloves at all.
Well, with you then, not playing baseball, you came into and just learned the 1867 rule.
Yeah, it's not really easy to learn all at once. It was a very progressive thing for me, especially not playing even modern ball, back in high school or even elementary days. But I did catch on, and it's not an easy thing, especially catching barehanded. But it's I think everyone could probably learn it game by game. And a little bit of practice in between, so it's it's easier said than done.
Oh, yeah.
Ray learned one of the lessons this year, and when you do catch a ball, you want to catch it in your palms. Unfortunately for Ray, he used his fingers. And if you want to tell the story of something that happened earlier this year.
Yeah, about mid-season, I did catch a fly ball, but it was more of a fingertip catch, and it's still kind of the nail is still kind of growing back and trying to look normal again, but it was it wasn't pretty.
Lesson.
Yeah.
It is. It is part of it. It's part of the progression for Ray is learning to catch the ball. You want to try to catch it in your palm if you can.
He earned a nickname though too that day. So
Yeah,
all
my
worked out.
nickname is Lights Out. I
Lights
earned
Out.
that nickname by that injury.
Oh, really?
Yeah, well, because I did pass out after I caught it. There was a little bit of blood, and I'm looking down. Everything happened so fast, and I got nauseous. And
In his defense, it was really hot out that day too.
Yeah.
though.
Oh, yeah. I don't even, you remind me one time when I was playing softball, and we were just, practicing before the game, and all of a sudden I saw the ball come, and I tried to, you talk about, this fingertip actually went back.
Yep.
So it's like, ooh, I know what the feel.
Yeah.
So,
I was able to play the rest of the season, though. I just had to kind of wrap it up and try to make it period appropriate. Just some gauze around it, just make it kind of padded. Now, luckily, the vintage ball that we play with is padded because I've kind of compared them between the earlier days and the modern ball that we know today.
yeah.
I don't know if I could catch that barehanded, a modern ball. So there's a little more padding, a little more forgiveness in that vintage ball. May not seem like it when you're catching it barehanded, but
Okay. But you learn one step at a time. How many teams are actually in the league this week? This year?
Well, the state of Michigan, I think, currently holds the most teams, if I'm
Really?
correct. They're right around 20 teams. Ohio's very close with right around 16 to 18 teams. And really, you play teams that are kind of like-minded because, as Jason stated, with the different rules and stuff, certain teams want to play certain rules. And then there's teams like us who are kind of more open. We're willing to, adapt to anybody's rules to try to get more games in. So, we traveled all over and we played multiple styles of rules this year.
All right. How many games did you actually have then?
Ooh. It was
Just half
24
of
to-
them, like 10 or
Yeah.
I
so?
want to say it was 24.
24,
Really, that
24,
many?
right in
yeah,
there.
So
right.
you
that sounds
managed to
right.
get every one of them practically.
Yeah,
then.
yeah. And then there's some weekends, especially when you travel to Ohio, or we have teams come up from Ohio, we try to play more than one game to kind of make it worth the
As
travel.
long as you're, yeah.
Yeah. So we played down in Dayton, down in Upper Sandusky, and then all the way up to Flint. We pretty much all over.
So do your families go with you in the bulk of the time?
They're invited all the time. I don't know if they like
It's
them.
one of the cool things about what we do is, like you were talking about softball, is I played softball for over 20 years. I couldn't tell you 5 people I ever played against. But in what we do, families are invited, and it is very family oriented. The home team at the end of the game feeds everybody that's there. And so you really get to know the other players from the other team. And so it's really cool. So yeah, families are definitely invited. Now, to make every game, that's really tough.
Oh,
But
yeah.
a majority, especially for us in Wyandotte, a majority of the fans, or what we call cranks, have been our family members.
Okay. So you call them cranks.
They were
Yeah.
called cranks back then.
Okay. Briefly, we had mentioned about, I had asked if Wyandotte has their own, well, I said ref, it should be umpire, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what's the story on that?
So our umpire currently, Smokey, he's a retired school teacher as well, and he was just a fan that would come out to pretty much every game. He'd bring his dog to the park and sit down and watch vintage baseball, and eventually it worked out where we asked him if he wanted to help out, and he's been along ever since. Next year though, because we've had a lot of people turn out and people's lives and schedules change, we may have 2 or 3 umpires working through, including one former player of ours who's on the show a couple of years ago. He'll be trying his hand at umpiring for
Oh, yeah?
for a couple games. Yeah.
So do you have most of your regulars that have been here for years, or do you keep on adding on every year?
Well, we try to keep everyone on as long as we can, but lives and things happen. Ray here, he's just finished his 2nd season with us. But someone like me, I'm going into my 15th year next year. So it's a wide range, but we have to
Yeah.
keep bringing in new people. So we're always actively recruiting. Our home field at Memorial Park, we practice pretty much every Wednesday during the summer, and we never turn anybody away at practice. If you want to try it out, come swing a bat and play catch bare
Yeah.
hand and see if it's for you. We always encourage people to come out and take a look. So.
Zach,
Well-
I'm sorry, Zach. How would anybody who's out here watching, how would they get a hold of you
Yeah.
to?
The best way is through the museum website. You get a hold of Jesse Rose, the director of the museum, and then he would filter it through. He knows a lot of our information and stuff, but he's the easiest person to contact
Yeah,
for that.
All right. Now there are rules too. You don't have strikes like 1, 2, 3 like a baseball.
Right. They're not called unless some umpires will warn you if you're taking too many pitches and things like that. But swings and misses are still strikes. If you swing and miss 3 times, you can strike out. The catcher must catch it. If not, then much like modern baseball, on a pass ball and a 3rd strike, you can run to first base.
You run to first base, not walk?
On a 3rd strike, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
But a lot of times, if the umpire is letting you play it out, the pitcher has to give you a good pitch to hit, and that's how the outs are made. So.
I think I called you after you had the last game, and I said, what was the score? And you said 33-15. I said, oh my gosh, can you imagine? All of you guys were having a ball, just running around.
Yeah, it was an interesting game. The city of Brownstown just has formed a team this year, and so they invited us out for the last game of the season. It was a beautiful event. Their team captain is a great friend of the city of Wyandotte. He volunteers with the museum all the time, and he wanted to create a team in his community. So it was a great event. They walked away with the trophy that day that they had made, but we'll be definitely coming for it next year. So.
Yeah. Okay, that sounds interesting. Now, you had brought some bats. Some people used to make their own, right?
Yeah,
Do
so-
they still do it?
Yes, there's a lot of guys who do like to make their own bats. This is one my father-in-law made for me. But there's a lot of guys who make their own bats. But there's also quite a few companies that make bats as well. In Phoenix, down in Columbus, Ohio. They're one of the major ones that make them for vintage baseball, but there's other ones as well. But a lot of guys, they like to spin their own bats. Some teams, they'll have one guy who will make whatever specs you want. Just
Yeah.
tell them what you want. And then others, I think we even had a time when a bunch of guys went over to a guy's house and you guys all spun bats.
Yeah.
So you can kind of help you make your own bat too if you want to, if someone has all the right,
Okay. What would you consider your bat? What are the qualifications of
So the really cool thing about it is, so just like a modern bat, it can only be 2 3/4 inches at the widest parts.
Oh,
but
really?
back then, you can make a bat as long as you want. So I've seen bats way longer than this. I like this one for really slow pitch. Guys who throw in slow. If I get a really fast pitcher, I like to have a smaller bat that's lighter that I can move around and just get it through the zone quicker. But you can make the bats as long as you want, any way you want. It just can't be any thicker than 2 3/4 inches.
Okay. So what is our modern baseball bats?
So
That one?
Zach, if you want to kind of talk about that, that's a maple bat.
So this is a maple bat that was turned here by the Great Lakes Bat Company. Once again, 2 3/4 at its widest end here. But one
You
of the
got
major
a hole on
differences,
that end.
one of the major differences is it is a cupped end. That's done for multiple different reasons, but it's mainly to help keep the bat intact, especially when you're making contact here through the zone.
Yeah.
And it gives you a little bit more power in the bat as well. But this bat here, because of that end, some teams may not allow you to use it for vintage baseball, or some teams will just point out that this isn't a good representation of a vintage bat, but they'll still let you use it.
Okay.
But it is, it's a beautiful bat.
It is.
That we would, I would love to try to swing this at a practice one time. So,
Oh, can somebody? You want to face this? That's very
Yeah.
unusual.
yeah, so there's the cupped end there.
How deep is that opening?
That is a good question.
Yeah, I don't know. It's I would say
Maybe
probably
3/4 of an inch. Maybe?
yeah.
Really?
At least.
Yeah. So, in a lot of modern bats, Mizuno, Rawlings, if you go to your local
Yeah.
sporting goods store, they all have that. So,
Yeah. Okay. So that's different. It's
Yeah.
just a little different, maybe to observe it.
Yes.
But you still have your requirements and your likes.
Yeah.
So,
And a lot of cool things like this one's pretty bland, but some guys will paint it different ways. Since it's your bat, you can do whatever you want with it. So we've seen with multiple colors. I think your father has a red, white, and blue
It's a
one
red, white,
and
and blue,
stars
yeah.
on it. So
Yeah.
you can pretty much do anything you want with your bat
Yeah.
as far as painting it.
so your dad still plays?
Still playing. It's been quite a few years since he's been on the show, but yeah, he's still hanging tough, going into his 15th year as well. He did play in the inaugural game, but it wasn't a full season. It was just one game.
Yeah.
So he has one extra game on me then. So
Oh, okay.
yeah.
So when he retires, then you can.
Then I can surpass him. Yeah.
All right. What would you recommend to anybody that say, "Hey, come on down and try us out"?
Yeah, we obviously open recruiting, and that'll pick up in the spring. We do have a couple events coming that you'll see us in the community. First thing is the cemetery walk coming up that the museum's putting on. You may notice a few of us.
Oh, really?
Yeah, walking around during that. And then there's another event happening. What was the details on that?
Yeah, it's the Halloween open house. That's Friday, October 21st from 5 to 8.
Yeah,
Okay.
and that's at the museum. We may be hanging around that. You'll definitely see us in the Thanksgiving Day Parade. We love getting back into the community, and in hopes that people will recognize us and kind of put two and two together and maybe want to come out and see a game. So
Yeah.
as many opportunities as we can, we try to get out there. But we'll be picking right back up as soon as the weather breaks, probably end of March, early April, hopefully.
Well, where do you practice when you can't be outside?
When we can't be outside, well, there's been a couple different indoor options. We've done the pit that's inside Lincoln Park High School. That's a lot of fun. Game On Sports in Taylor. We use the batting cages there every so often. there's a couple different options open to us for the winter if we were, wanting to get some extra work in.
Well, do you get a chance to like practice with other teams too at the same time, since you're looking for a space, right?
Yeah, yeah. On our Wednesday practices, like we said, it's open to everybody. Guys from Brownstown come out. The Detroit Early Risers is another team that's been around for a very long time. They actually invite us to go to to their off-season practices all the time. I know Ray's been quite a few times. So we try to, work together, and everyone's pretty open, with, hey, you want to get better, and all right, we're going to help you. So.
Okay. Anything else that those people out there might like to know about you guys or your team, or?
If you are interested in just finding out when games are, definitely check us out on Facebook. Wyandotte Stars Vintage Baseball, I believe, is the name of it. And if you're interested in learning about how to join the team, just email. I believe it's the Wyandotte Museum. It's right on the website. And from there, I'll get your information, and we'll be in touch. There'll be a lot of off-season stuff for us because we want to line up our season and our schedule. Our schedule normally gets released right in February or March.
Okay.
We've already started scheduling for next year, and it's in the beginning processes, but we've already started scheduling.
So you guys already signed up if you're coming back, and?
Yeah, we know we'll have a season. We know we got some dedicated guys that are going to be out there and wearing the Wyandotte Shield. It'll be fun.
Okay, who makes those uniforms?
So
Maybe I shouldn't ask.
No, it's actually, I'm glad you asked. Love to sew, hate to mow. Stitches, she is the wife of a player from the Detroit Early Risers. Her business, she has turned just a hobby into a huge business. She's been making local vintage baseball uniforms now for almost 10 years, I would say. She made our shields. She's made most of our uniforms that are still lasting. Our hats, she started making the hats as well. So she's our go-to for anything we need, including equipment, bases, that we need to play. She makes the bases even. So we rely quite a bit on her.
It'll be interesting to see how she does that too.
Yeah. I'll put the word out and see if she wants to come on next time.
Hey, I hope you have another good season. Well, you were what? Middle?
Yeah, we were a little lower than middle, but I think we had.
But you had a good time.
It was a great time. It was a great time. No matter where we went, we had fun. So.
Yeah, and like you said, you get to meet some of these people. They're like family because through the years you get to know who they are.
Yes.
I know. We were a fastball family, and we did that an awful lot with the kids in the station wagon and with their pajamas and all, and you're going to watch the game, and then it's an overtime. And then, sure, yeah. But you still talk with the kids now, and they remember, hey, remember when? So it's good. It's something that lives with you for years after that. So
absolutely.
Keep up the good work.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us on.
Thank you. So I hope you learned something today. I still learned some more. And it's every day you're learning. So take it easy. We'll see you next time on Up, Down, and Around Town. Bye now. So.